Hi, I'm Rob Boss, and welcome to another episode of Screen Printing Technique. In this episode, we're going to want to talk briefly about how we remove a photographic screen emulsion from the screen mesh that you've been working with. In this particular case, we have the stencil that we just cleaned the ink from, so it's still a little bit wet. What we want to focus on when we're removing the emulsion from the screen is, rather than use cold water, we actually want to use only hot water, the hottest we can get. So if it's possible, when you come into the room to work, try turning the hot water on in advance in order to let the hot water come through the system. So what I'm going to do in order to remove the emulsion from the screen is I'm going to turn the hot water on a tap, and that tap will be on the left side, and it's got a little red tab on the top to kind of clue you in on that. And I'm going to just gently rinse the screen with hot water. And I'm going to want to rinse it on both sides. And what I'm trying to do is wet the emulsion to allow the stripper solution that we're going to be using in just a minute to penetrate the surface of the emulsion. If you try to clean a screen that's dry, very often the stripper can't effectively get into the emulsion to break it down. So the hot water helps to aid that process. It acts a little bit like a catalyst. So we're pretty much ready to go now. What we want to do is apply our stripper. I have my goggles on, I have my gloves on. We always want to be conscious of safety. I might also mention in the previous video I have an apron on. An apron or a smock is a great idea whenever you're doing any type of washout in order to prevent yourself from being exposed to some of the chemistry inadvertently. So I've got my screen in here now. I'm going to leave my water running a little bit, and I'm going to apply my stripper solution. And we're working with the Franmar product, Strippy Doo. It's a very safe product, but again, you don't want to get it on yourself or on others. So make sure when you're spraying that you're clear from other people, that you're not going to inadvertently cause them to be exposed to the material. So I'll start at the top of the screen, and I'll spray a light mist fairly close to the screen so it's all going over there. Now, if you have a particularly problematic screen, you can invert the screen and spray Strippy Doo on the other side as well. But in this case, the screen is, I think, going to clean fairly easily, so we're only applying the stripper on the single side that we're working on. So now I need to let that stripper sit for a while, about a minute to 2 minutes, and as I do, you'll begin to see that the emulsion that's in the screen actually starts to break down so dramatically that it begins to marble a little bit on the screen. So we're going to let that take place, and we'll come back in just a second. Okay, so we're back, and our emulsion has had an opportunity to set, and the stripper has had an opportunity to penetrate that old emulsion that's on the screen, and it's begun to break it down. The next step that I want to take is to actually simply rinse the stripper solution from the screen before I use the power washer to clean it. Now, doing this will allow me to remove some of the excess material before I power wash, but it also, from a safety standpoint, is very important. We want to not have that material splash back on us. So we use very low water pressure and just rinse the stripper from the screen. So again, I'm hitting it with very hot water, and I'm going to rinse both sides of the screen and make sure that both are very, very clean and that there's no residue of the stripper solution on the screen. And once I've done that, I can, if I want, use a brush to kind of loosen the emulsion on the screen a little like this to help when I do the power washing to remove that material. It's not always necessary, but sometimes screens clean a little harder and sometimes they clean a little bit easier. But now I'm ready to do my power washing, but I need my third element of safety equipment, and that is my ear protectors. So I'm going to reach over here very quickly I'm gonna grab a pair of ear protectors and I'm gonna put them over the Rob Boss wig, and I'm going to put my gloves back on and then take the power washer, which is in the on position already, and I'm going to proceed to clean the emulsion out of the screen. So I'm going to have that curtain at the ready to protect me from some backsplash, but I'm going to try hitting this with a little bit of water now. I think you can see in the video that already this lower portion of the screen, the emulsion is almost completely gone. So the power washer is beginning to do the job that it's supposed to do. So we'll continue to power wash the screen. And when I'm done with the screen, I'll make sure that I return the wand to the power washer holster and put any appropriate safety equipment away. And your screen needs to either be placed in the screen rack or in the drying sink to make sure that we don't have excess water dripping around. Also, that your screen doesn't inadvertently get damaged because it is sitting out. So that's your basic background information on cleaning emulsions out of screens. And we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. It's Rob Foss, over and out.